Italy for Holy Weekend. Live picture there at the Vatican, a gorgeous LiveNOW look at St. Peter's Basilica. In the meantime, though, we want to dive into some of these economic headlines. We're going to do that with our friend there at the American Institute for Economic Research, Dave Hebert. He joins me. David, thanks for being with us here. You've been following this extremely closely. I want to start with the tariff deal making that is ongoing. And, correct me if I'm wrong, are you skeptical of what the president is proffering? We keep hearing that all these talks, all these calls with Mexico, with Italy, with the European Union, with Japan, that they're going well and they're productive. What's the strategy here?
I think you ask a great question. And frankly, it's very difficult to pin down exactly what the strategy is with respect to these tariffs. On the one hand, we get Peter Navarro saying that we're going to raise $600 billion in revenue every year. But then other Trump officials are saying we're using these as a negotiation tactic to get to zero tariffs. Now, it doesn't take an economist to tell you that if you have no tariffs, you're going to have no tariff revenue. Then we hear that we're going to be reshoring manufacturing jobs. But then Lutnick just said that those jobs are going to be automated and that the only jobs that will be created are going to be in HVAC and machine maintenance. So it's really difficult to pin down exactly what this administration is trying to do with these tariffs. And I think that, combined with the capricious and frankly, daily changes in what tariff rates are going to be, is causing significant uncertainty in markets. And this is starting to boil over. The Philadelphia Fed just released their manufacturing report today, and to the surprise of almost no one, it was resoundingly negative.
So, David, you heard there, I was reading that post on Truth Social. The president is saying we are getting rich on tariffs as we speak here. Have we seen any data as far as tariff revenue that has come in since he, on April 2nd, kind of announced that Liberation Day was at hand and then a week later issued a 90-day pause? Have we seen any material positive benefit in revenue from the tariffs yet?
Not that I've seen. And recall again that we're projecting, at least from Navarro, that this will make $600 billion per year.
Yeah.
Now, that seems a bit extreme. The CBO in December released figures saying about $270 billion. But let's put that into context real quick. Even at $600 billion, that's how much money Congress spends every single month. Now, look, it's great to get 1 month's income, but that's not going to move the needle on our fiscal health. It's not going to even pay off the $1.7 trillion in deficit spending that we're going to do today. Yeah. Frankly, I don't think we need just Elon Musk in the White House. I think we need Dave Ramsey to wrangle in and get this stuff actually squared away.
Okay, so on to Jerome Powell here. He was speaking just yesterday at the Economic Club of Chicago. And we showed our viewers a lot of this yesterday. And he was quite forthcoming and quite frank about how the tariff regime may, heighten inflationary pressures, that the long-term inflation may persist or get worse because of the tariffs. He said that there to the Economic Club of Chicago. I would imagine that the president did not like that, Powell said that here. And you saw in that Truth Social post, he said, Powell's termination cannot come soon enough. He was asked about that statement in the Oval Office today. He said, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. Now, Powell's term is not up until May of 2026. Can a president fire a Fed chair?
So, look, we don't really have precedent to say objectively one way or another. We do have a lot of Supreme Court cases, though, that suggest that it would be incredibly difficult for a president to unilaterally fire a Fed chair for political reasons. It would have to be for gross negligence, misconduct, things like that. But really, I think what Jerome Powell was speaking to was exactly what is within his purview. His mandate is to combat inflation or to promote price stability and to promote full employment. Well, when you have a capricious president changing fiscal policy through tariffs every single day, I mean, if we look at the history here, President Trump has changed tariff policy 27 times since taking office. Yeah. That's a lot. And so when you have a lot of uncertainty in exactly what the executive is going to be doing, Jerome Powell can't come in and try to lower inflation. Otherwise, he's going to risk kicking off a serious recession if he does it at a time when the president raises tariffs. So, this is a really tough spot for Jerome Powell. And I'm not surprised that he said what he said. And I'm also not surprised that President Trump wants to see lower interest rates. We do have a
So,
lot of treasury bonds coming due in November. This is going to be a problem.
so Powell also acknowledged that, Smoot-Hawley of almost 100 years ago. Right now, our tariff atmosphere, the average weighted tariff on the country, is more than that. It's more than Smoot-Hawley right now. Lastly, though, on the interest rates, you heard there in the president's post on True Social that the European Central Bank keeps cutting interest rates. He wants Powell to cut interest rates right now. Why won't Powell do that? I mean, Powell doesn't have to listen, but why won't Powell cut rates? He's held them steady the last two meetings. What's stopping him from cutting them?
So if Powell were to cut rates, what that would do is put upward pressure on markets and create sort of a boom condition. Now, look, this is not a bad thing, but when we're also trying to lower inflation, remember, the Fed wants to get to 2%, and the latest figures